used to like her. I don't like her anymore.
I love her.
I don't like a lot of stand-up comedians. Actually,
Why
like
not?
traditional stand-up comedians because I find them not funny.
Who do you think is funny?
Bo Burnham. He's my favorite
that?
comedian. Exactly.
Oh, he's wonderful.
He's funny. He's also
He just won a
great.
Grammy.
He's also a great and promising young woman.
Yes. Remember the boyfriend? in
Oh,
Thomas
well,
Stone?
he wasn't funny in that, but he was good.
No, he wasn't funny. No.
Did you watch Inside, Michael?
Inside?
Yeah.
No.
No, that was
It's
an
called-
internet thing.
Oh.
He would have had to seen it on Netflix.
No. I don't have the internet.
Yeah,
I think you
Hello?
would.
Oh,
I think you would really like it.
it's good.
Depends.
Say it, Brent.
I
Do
tried
it.
to sneak in an intro in there. Hello, and welcome to the Full
Oh.
Volume Podcast. Joining us today are being upgraded from guest to recurring, so we have to update their contracts. It is the cast of Here Comes Spider-Cast. Got Mike L. You got...
It's also an audio podcast.
For those that aren't watching this, Mike L. waved. We have Josh Murr-VELL,
Hey, what's up?
and we have Bex Luthor with us today.
I am here.
And we're still here. And joined with me is, of course, my fearless co-host, G.I. Joe Lee.
Hi.
Hi.
I am not Amy Schumer, but
No, you're
Thank
funnier.
God.
right.
You're funnier. And we are going to rank the remaining Spider-Man films today. I said it really
Yes.
softly. I don't know why. But we're going to be ranking the remaining Spider-Man. And last week you probably watched us because you watch us every week. And so far we have Spider-Man 2 as our film to beat. It's a high A tier, or just an A tier. I think it's high A, but I think we're gonna have to rank the rest of the films. We have our Tom Hollands, we have our Tom Hardys, we have our Into the Spider-Verse, we have our crossover event. So we have a lot going on this week. So I think we should get right to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not sharing the screen for me again, so I'm gonna have to just
Oh, that's
take your-
because I need to share the screen. There we go.
visuals. Okay, 2017 Spider-Man Homecoming.
So I'm going to do like I did last week, where I will just pick it up, put it down, and we'll talk about it.
You know what I just remembered too? We actually did rank the Tom Holland films in our greatest MCU ranking ever two-parter.
Oh,
I forget where we put it though.
I know. I don't remember either. I should have the images, but you know what? Let's just wing it. All right, everybody.
We
Tell
don't
me
do
why
that
you don't.
here.
It's just scripted.
Yeah. Tell me why it's not an S tier. And go. What? Brent, you have things. I hear.
It is
hear
not an
breath.
S tier.
Oh, okay,
It's-
fine.
I don't think it's an S tier. I think it's a good film. I think Tom Holland is charming. I think Zendaya is wonderful. I think Michael Keaton is admirable. I think it loses points for the fact that this is a third reboot, and again, it's kind of the same logic I applied to 2012's Amazing Spider-Man, where you've now seen a first film twice do better. So I think in that sense, it's good though. I think this film is good. One thing I'm gonna need some Spider-Cast knowledge on this because this is my ignorance flying through a little bit. What's with this whole MJ's father being who he is in the film? Is that ever canon in the comics?
Oh, it's not MJ. It's
Well, Michelle.
Michelle
yeah.
Jones.
Michelle Jones.
No.
Okay.
Sorry. It's not MJ's dad. It's
Liz Allen's.
Liz Allen's dad.
Oh, right. Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
And I don't believe that is the case in the comics, but
No.
I thought it was a fun twist.
Yeah,
Okay,
I thought it was good.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's
it's not
okay.
like there's no consequence either. I think doing it, like, it doesn't change anything else. Liz Allen is kind of just like a character in the comics.
Mhm.
From what I know of her character, she's just kind of like part of the Peter Parker's personal life roster. So
Okay. So I fundamentally misunderstood that because I did not rewatch this film. So that's on me. I apologize. So I was gonna say I wasn't really a fan of how they took a liberty with that story, but if it's such little consequence, then I think that's okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, Liz Allen Peter liked her in high school. She ends up dating Harry and getting married and having a kid with him.
Yeah.
She's
That's okay. Yeah, okay. So
She's there.
who has opinions on this? Because I don't think it's S tier, but Mike's got
Mike.
opinions.
I'm gonna probably be the outlier and give it a C. I just didn't think it was that great. I think all of the actors are good. Like all the actors, well, most of them. Like Michael Keaton, of course, one of my favorite actors. Jon Favreau is great. Zendaya's great. Laura Harrier, who played Liz Allen, she was great. But I didn't like the amount of screen time given to Iron Man and Tony Stark. I mean, I know they wanted to hit you over the head with the fact that it was in the Marvel Universe, but I thought the fact that he was on the poster, the fact that Spider-Man's suit was all Stark tech really took away from the movie. And also, I'm the only one here, but I do not like Tom Holland as Peter Parker or Spider-Man. I just don't think he's that great.
Ooh.
So I think it's definitely better than the last two Mark Webb films, but still not as good as the Sam Raimi films.
Oh, you think it's better than Spider-Man 3?
No. No.
Oh, sorry,
it's better.
last two.
I think it's
Oh,
better than Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2. And it's like Spider-Man 3 is a bad, good film. This is like a good, bad film.
Good, bad. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yep. Okay.
Talk that one out.
All right. I think it's a solid B. I think that
Okay.
I don't have the same problem as Brent with this movie being like, it is the first solo MCU Spider-Man movie, but it's not an origin story.
Mhm.
They kind of just jump into it, and he's Spider-Man already. He gets the suit in Civil War. In this movie, he's already like, we see him swinging through New York, helping people out. You know, he's like the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man at this point. So I really appreciated that. I was very glad to not see Uncle Ben die again and him get bit by the spider and all that. I think Tom Holland is the perfect in between of the two live action Spider-Man that we have. I think he's a pretty good Spider-Man and he's a pretty good Peter Parker. I think that Andrew is a better Peter and Andrew is a better Spider-Man and Toby's a better Peter, but I think that he's like a perfect in between of the two and can kind of play them both well. Michael Keaton is one of my favorite villains in the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he is so evil and menacing in such a fun way. I think he like scratches that same itch that Willem Dafoe does in the first Spider-Man movie. That sort of like fully evil, campy villain. I think that the suit is like the perfect way to translate the Vulture's look into live action. I think maybe it's I don't want to see like wings with like feathers on it. I feel like I kind of like that it's like a mechanical like mechanical feathers and wings, and it's got like the jets. That's super fun. I like that they made his like flight suit almost look like a vulture's beak. Like there's some really fun stuff with him. But I feel like I get why they did, like what Mike was saying. They have Iron Man up front and center, like he's such a huge part of this movie. And at the time, I think that it was like it made it worse and like not as enjoyable. But I think in hindsight, I really like that they did that. Now getting No Way Home and seeing the different versions of Spider-Man together, I think that if he was a lot like Toby or a lot like Andrew, it would kind of be more middle of the road and average. But I think that connecting him like and rooting him into the MCU and teaming him up with Tony Stark actually helped the movie in hindsight.
I will say, I forgot to mention that I appreciated the lack of Uncle Ben origin for sure. So I think in that sense, that's major points for this film too, because we can only watch him die so many times. Bex, what are your thoughts?
I don't have a lot of thoughts. I'm reading the Wikipedia entry for this movie. I do not remember anything that happens in it. Like at all. I'm like trying to. I'm like, yeah, he fights Walter, right? And I'm like
Yep.
reading the. It's like, nope. Oh, there's a boat. There's a boat thing where boat rips apart, right? And then Iron Man yells at him. Don't remember that. I remember what's his name? I remember Donald Glover being in this movie.
Yes.
I remember I remember something that I like about this movie. I like when Peter had to go back to his old suit that he had made, and he's getting crushed by all the blocks, and he's like, "Come on, Spider-Man." That part made me cry, but literally every other part of this movie I don't care about at all. So
that sounds like a C?
I'll give it a B because I like Tom Holland a lot.
Okay.
And I like Zendaya a lot. I just at this point I feel like this isn't even a Spider-Man movie, it's an MCU movie, and that's what a lot of these Marvel movies have as a detriment is like it says Spider-Man in the title, but is it a Spider-Man movie? No, it's a Marvel movie. It's like this new Doctor Strange movie that's coming out. Is it going to be a Doctor Strange movie or is it going to be a Marvel Universe movie? Like they're all crossover events.
Right.
So I think that was a big, honest detriment to this movie. And I like, who doesn't like Robert Downey Jr.? So I like him, but it's just, I don't remember this movie being that interesting.
I think you've actually convinced me to put it where it is right now. I was going to bump it between the two films in B tier, but I think that convinced me that I think it should stay where it is.
Agreed. I mean, you start high
fine.
and then you just talk it out.
Yeah, that's right.
Then you realize the things that you loved, you don't actually love, and you don't actually love anything, and life is meaningless.
Oh, can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
I do like the
Me?
fact that Tom Holland is the youngest. He's the only age-appropriate Spider-Man, right? Like, I think Tobey Maguire was, what, 37 when he played Peter Parker?
No.
Andrew
Can't tell at
Garfield-
all.
No, he was, like, older. Andrew Garfield was a little bit older, but Tom Holland
I think
is
he was in his
clearly...
30s.
Yeah.
They were
Like,
both
Tom
in their
Holland is
30s.
clearly a teen. And even though I don't really like him, the one thing I'll give him is he has the awkwardness of a teenager, and I really like that.
Yeah.
So also this is the first Spider movie to get the eyes right. This is the only Spider-Man movie to get the eyes right because John Romita drew eyes in a specific way, and all the other movies got it wrong. So I'll give this movie props for that.
Okay. So I think it sits nicely where it is there in comparison to everything else that we've had to average out. Okay. 2018 Into the Spider-Verse.
S.
Maybe one of the best movies ever, actually. Not just Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 3 or 4 S's. Mike, what are your thoughts?
I'll give it an A, not an S.
Fair.
It loses a
Be the
point.
best.
It loses a point because the protagonist is Miles Morales and not Peter Parker. So for that reason, it's not really a Spider-Man movie.
How many times?
Jesus Christ.
Okay.
We're having this argument again.
You missed the whole point of the movie if
You asked me.
Because the whole point is that anybody can be under the mask. Anybody can be Spider-Man. Anybody.
I disagree with that opinion, though.
There's
Okay.
2 Peter Parkers in this movie.
It's
There's
true.
more
but
than
he's not-
2, isn't there?
But he's not the proto-nagist.
Yeah, I guess there is technically 3. I think we see him as the Lizard at one point.
Yeah.
In
Oh, in
Gwen's
Gwen's universe, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was easy to settle on for once. I think law of averages bumps it to S.
Yeah.
Maybe a weak S because Mike
I
brings
could
it
talk
down.
about this movie for days.
Well, it's just beautiful to look at. First off, regardless of anything happening in the movie, just stunning. Like animation wise, I don't know if it's gonna top itself, and I'm not worried about it topping itself because I think this is just a perfect movie. Aesthetics, writing, plot. It's beautiful.
One of the only superhero films to win an Oscar.
It's true.
I think, to be honest, it also kind of proves that
Suicide Squad also won one.
Yeah.
as much as I love live action, superheroes work better in animation, and I wish there was more animated films like this. Like there should be 50 of them, not just one, right?
Well, there
There
is a lot
are.
of good superhero animated actually a lot of good superhero animated stuff. Like
Well, not a. I mean, unless
that
we're
have
talking about the.
breached the mainstream. Do you
Yeah,
mean
but
that?
and I don't think like all the straight to video animated films that DC and Marvel make. I don't think any of them are great. They're not nearly as good as this.
Them's
Mm.
Fighting Words,
Mm.
Mask of the Phantasm.
Well, that was
Oh my
that was
God.
great, but that was
Yeah.
30 years ago. Of
That's what I'm
course,
saying.
yeah, that's one franchise. That's Batman the Animated Series, which is the gold standard. That's one franchise.
The
Like
Flashpoint DC one was really good. The one that
it was
came out
okay.
recently. I
That was
really
okay.
liked it. I'm
DC's
just
New
saying
Frontier was good.
That was
it
pretty
was.
good.
Max Fleischer, Superman.
That was 80
Oh.
years ago, but yes, it was great.
Okay, but it still holds the point,
So-
right?
No, but wait a
We're not
minute.
saying only current.
But I'm
like,
saying in the past 25 years, we've seen how many, like every year we have 7 or 8 live action superhero films, and we have like how many good animated superhero films? We have Lego Batman,
Mhm.
and how many other Invincible, or what is it called? Is it
Invincible.
no, the Disney
The
team of
Invisibles.
Incredibles.
Oh, The Incredibles.
The
Yeah,
Incredibles, but
those are
there's
both
not
good.
many other ones. That's what I mean.
Marvel's What If. I think
Wow.
that's a lot
Oh.
better than a lot of the Marvel movies.
I stopped watching after one episode. So it
Just
wasn't
based
that
on the
great.
medium, because you can do so much.
Yeah, true.
Mm.
You're right. Like the medium, you're right. They in What If at least it showed what they could do. So I'll give you that. Yeah,
I have-
Superheroes work best in that form, I think.
right.
I have to say, I was kind of like met on What If until the final few episodes where it tied everything together, and I was like, oh, that retroactively made the entire season better. It was less anthology and more of an overarching universe. But anyways, we're getting off topic. 2018, Venom.
Mm.
All right. Um.
I'm not allowed
Okay,
to
I'm
talk.
gonna put it here because I feel
And like the
Becca?
symbiote, it's going to ooze down the tier list.
I'm
All
not
right.
allowed to talk about this.
So Bex loves it.
No, I think you should talk about it.
no. I
No,
think you should
nobody
continue.
wants to hear me talk about the fact that
I
Tom Hardy
do.
crawling into a tank full of lobsters at a fancy restaurant is the most Eddie Brock thing that's ever happened to Eddie Brock.
That's a
Movie's
good point.
flawless.
S
This movie
tier.
is exactly Lethal Protector. This movie is, as soon as Marvel realized that people liked Eddie Brock, this movie is that Eddie Brock. I love it. I love the banter. I love the romantic comedy. I love every single part of this movie. And you can't change that. It's part of my DNA. I'm fundamentally inclined to like this movie because it's everything that I want. In a Venom movie, it is so pleasing to me personally and how I consume comic books.
Okay.
It is the AO3 fan fiction of my dreams of comic book movies.
So I'm hearing S tier from you.
It's an A.
Oh,
It's not as
A.
good as it's not as good as Into the Spider-Verse.
Okay, I'm hearing
Okay.
A tier. So that's, I mean, nobody's gonna argue that being it better than A. So let's see what
Move
Mike
on.
has to say.
Mike's just
D?
gonna hate. Mike hates everything I
I'll
love.
give it a D. It's crap. I think it's one of the dumbest superhero movies made since like Catwoman and Elektra and all those
You didn't
movies.
see Morbius.
No, I haven't, not yet. I don't think there's any redeeming qualities about it. I mean, Tom Hardy's one of my favorite actors, but he's like embarrassing himself at being in this movie. Is Michelle Williams in this one?
Yeah.
She's great, but she's also, this is a career low for her. So yeah, I hate the Venom voice. I hate the Venom CGI. I hate the whole thing with like the store owner. The fact that this is a Venom movie without Spider-Man is ridiculous. The fact that this movie's even made is ridiculous. I just think it shouldn't exist. I think it's pure garbage.
So I got a D and we have an A. Josh?
I think it's a C for me. I really like Tom Hardy in the movie. I know a lot of people don't. Maybe people on the podcast didn't like the fact that Tom also voiced Venom, and like the fact that he was like he can kind of like detach himself and talk to him. I really love that. I
Ugh.
love their relationship together. I think that's the strongest part of both of the Venom movies. But the story that's happening really blows. Like I don't like the story at all. The 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 Life Foundation, right? Like that whole thing is awful. Riz Ahmed in the movie, I like him, but he has nothing to do in the film. The whole corporation thing, like subplot or plot or whatever, stinks. Um, the fact that he's fighting just another Venom that looks exactly like him, and all of the fight scenes are just like goop flying everywhere, and you can't tell which goop you're rooting for at any given point. Yeah, I think it would. I want to really like this movie because I really like Tom Hardy and I like their relationship together, but it falls flat for me and ends up in like a C.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a D, a C, and an A. Jolie. I hate this movie.
Oh, what?
Oh.
I'm going to put it here.
Wow. So two
Do you know what?
A D and a C.
I think it's a D, and that Amazing Spider-Man 2 is better. I don't know what it
Okay.
is about this film that I just despise.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that everyone described to have been like strong points about the film, everything that everyone described to be weak points of the film, I agreed with all of it, but also that it was not the best. I remember vividly leaving the movie. This is the only thing I remember about the film, actually. Other than looking into Michelle Williams' eyes and thinking, oh, she realizes she's in a bad movie, and you can see it on her face, was leaving the theater and wondering what the hell what had just happened. I wish we had Morbius to put in here, but
Oh, it's worse.
yeah, I have a feeling. I mean, if Becca didn't like it,
It's really bad.
then it must be really
You are
fucking shitty.
correct.
Yeah. So
See, I'm not fighting anybody on Venom on this one. I agree that I have a trash opinion on this one. You can take it. Do whatever you want with it.
This movie pissed me off. And I remember looking at my phone and being like, "Oh, I thought we were in 2004. Like, why is this movie coming out now in theaters?" Like, it felt like when you said Catwoman and Electro, I think that was exactly what I was thinking. Like, it feels very of its time. Or no, not of its time. It feels like it's a movie 15 years, past its prime.
Yeah.
I do like Tom Hardy though, and I think
No.
I do enjoy the relationship between him and Venom, almost codependent and toxic pun. I think if it's a D, it's a strong D.
So like here.
Maybe. Although it's weird to put it ahead of Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Right?
I don't know. That's tough. I don't know.
But there's all
Here's the
kinds of
thing.
yeah.
Here's the thing you need to think of though, and this is coming from me. If this is the lowest, where does Venom 2 go?
Ah,
Well,
So
also
I
a
actually
D.
think Venom 2 is better.
you'll
You're wrong.
no, it's so much better than this.
I don't know
movie.
if it's
I
so
can't
much
wait
better.
to hear what your opinions on Venom 2
Yeah.
are.
Okay, let's leave Venom where it is for now. I think
Just leave
It's-
it down there.
Real quick, bouncing off of what Brent was saying, and I'm going to reference this later when we talk about Venom 2, but I think that, like you were saying, it feels like a movie from like the early 2000s that's taking itself way too seriously. It's trying to be very gritty and dark and like, this is it. We're a Venom movie and it's going to be dark. This isn't, don't bring your grandparents to see this one because this one's crass and gross and like adult.
this isn't Topher Grace's Venom.
Yeah.
This is...
So it's like trying to be like, no, we're a real movie. And I think that's why it's lower for me. And if it was campy and goofy, it would work because Tom Hardy, I think, realizes that this is like a goofy idea, and he's having so much fun in the role. So yeah, no. When we talk about Let There Be Carnage, that's why I like that one better. It's because it's stupid and goofy, and like it knows that it's a stupid Venom movie.
Okay.
I think this movie knows it's a stupid Venom movie. I disagree.
I don't think like
Tom
Venom,
Hardy jumped in a lobster tank.
yeah, but I didn't laugh. Did anybody laugh at that point? Like I was just like,
It was
what
my
is
phone background for
I
a
did
month.
not laugh.
Venom,
I was embarrassed for the movie.
when Venom is at a rave and talking about how he's coming out of the closet, that is like goofy, fun. I love what's the weird shit that's happening. I don't like anything that's happening in Venom for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody likes Dr. Dan?
Who?
No.
Dan.
Exactly.
Anne's fiance.
The only reason I remember him is because of Let There Be Carnage.
He's the
He gets
best.
punched in the face.
And like, yeah, and him like running around in the church and everything, and like the goofiness that's going on in that movie. I don't
But
remember
he's
one
such a-
thing he does in the first
He's
one.
such a good man that you're not even mad that your ex-girlfriend left you for him. Like, that's how nice of a guy he is.
Okay.
Okay, 2019.
I don't know.
Spider-Man Far From Home.
I'm just going to drop that there while we talk.
I'm going to go first and say one thing I like about this film is I know I'm not like obviously as big of a Spider-Man fan as you guys. Like you guys are hardcore, but I've like always liked the 90s cartoon and whatnot. I'm obviously very familiar with Mysterio, and I was still gagged at his heel turn. Like it actually, the movie actually convinced me he was a good guy, and I knew better. I will say I was that alone. I think it's a gag, and I think it's an impressive film. But that's very anecdotal. I'll let somebody else talk. I'm just saying the twist that I should have known coming still surprised me.
No, you know, it's the thing. We do a Spider-Man podcast, and I still was like, when I was reading the previews and seeing the trailers, I was like, oh, Mysterio's a good guy. Okay. I totally bought into it. So when I saw the movie, I was like, oh my God, they tricked me. But I mean, but also Jake Gyllenhaal is one of my favorite actors. We should point out that he was actually going to replace Tobey Maguire in Spider-Man 2 because Tobey Maguire had a back injury. So they were this close to casting Jake Gyllenhaal. He's one of my favorite lead actors. So he was perfect. Any movie with a twist is, you know, it's given extra points for that. I also like the fact that all the visuals with Mysterio's illusions. And then at the end of the movie when Spider-Man kind of had to outsmart Mysterio to do what he did. So this movie I definitely think is better than the last one. So I think I give it a B.
All right. I also give it a B, but I give it a B that's like better than 2002 Spider-Man.
Okay.
Do I think it's better than Amazing Spider-Man? Wait, yes. Do I think it's better than Spider-Man 2? Yes. That would put it in the A tier.
That would put it in the A tier.
Yeah, just like the story, the action, everything that went on.
The
like
heel turn.
The heel. Oh, heel turn.
That's a wrestling term, by the way. When a good guy turns bad, it's called a heel turn in wrestling. So that's Mysterio had a heel turn. Where's Jeff? Jeff would appreciate that.
This is the third time Brett has had to explain wrestling on the Full Volume podcast, by the way. Because we've been through like the whole gamut. Like there's a double heel turn.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway,
there is a double heel turn.
I don't know. I think it's an A. Better. I think it's better than Amazing. I mean, I think it's better than Spider-Man 2, in my opinion. I just liked it better as a film. I don't know what it is about this movie. Like the rewatchability of Far From Home for me is like if I had to pick between all the, because I only rewatched the Toms, not including Venom. Sorry, Hardy. I will pick this one over Homecoming, even No Way Home.
Josh.
I agree with Jolie as it being an A tier. I don't like it better than Spider-Man 2, but I think that it's better than a lot of the other films, which is surprising because I feel like it makes a lot of choices that don't feel very Spider-Man. They rip him from New York, and as we know on Spidercast, that usually means failure. when they take him out of his element and they throw him in space, or he goes on a road trip somewhere, it's almost always awful. But I really like it. I like his banter with Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury. The fact that he's kind of like, I don't really want to be an Avenger after everything that happened with Tony and like like being in space, fighting aliens, and like he's just trying to be like a normal kid. That feels very Peter to me. The fact that he's like, I'm not even packing my suit. I'm not Spider-Man on this trip. Like that's super fun. Mysterio is great in the film. Yeah, those visual moments is maybe some of the best in the MCU when he's like in that vision when we get that heel turn. And like you see like Tony Stark in his suit like rising from the grave. Like there's some really great stuff in this movie, and I think it's one of the best Spider-Man movies in live action is when he's like having that final confrontation with Mysterio, and he's like handing him the glasses and it's all an illusion, and it's
Yes.
actually like a gun pointed at him and he's like in a
Right.
different spot. Like that is so, yeah, that's such a great moment. I really like this movie.
Oh,
Okay.
can I just butt in to say the
Mhm.
cliffhanger is ridiculous.
Oh,
Very good
yeah.
cliffhanger.
Yeah. Oh, and MJ as well. I think it's great that MJ just is like, yeah, I knew. Of course, idiot. You're a teenager who's constantly running away and like all these weird things are happening. Of course I know you're Spider-Man. And I think like in the comics, at times it's hard to believe that some of the people in Peter's life don't know that he's Spider-Man or can't figure it out at this point. I really like that. Yeah, she's just like, yeah, I know you're Spider-Man, of course.
All right, Bex.
Mysterio is my favorite Spider-Man rogue. It's no competition at all. I love him because Spider-Man's bad guys are all like super powered or crazy or whatever, and Mysterio's kind of just a guy. I do wish he wasn't a team. I wish he was still just one guy, one stupid angry man with a bunch of technology, but I think it works really, really well. Do I remember a lot of this movie again? No, I don't know what it is about these Marvel movies. I probably like in the review we did of it, I was probably like, this is my favorite thing that's ever happened in my entire life. But like these the Sam Raimi movies and the web movies, those they're so memorable. I remember so much about them so vividly. I don't know, maybe because I was younger and now I'm old and I don't have any memory anymore. Or I think it's more because these Marvel movies have a very samey feel to them. So the Mysterio stuff really stands out because it's like that part Josh was talking about where they're on the bridge and his spider sense kicks off for like one of the first times in the MCU and he grabs the gun. Like that to me, peak Spider-Man right there. So I probably give this an A. Just based on how dope Mysterio is and also Peter's character development because like you go from him be like, oh, I'm an Avenger, I could be a superhero, to him now realize what that actually means, and then now maybe he doesn't want it so much. I'd like that he's growing more in this one than he does in the other movies where he's in. I'd say movies because he's in like 4 movies between this first Spider-Man movie and this movie, right? He's in like 2 Avengers movies. He was in Civil War first. Yeah, I'd give it an A. It's a solid A. Again, not as good as Into the Spider-Verse for me. Just based on like I don't like Nick Fury being in this movie at all. again, it's the whole like, it's a big universe. Yeah, I get it, but what's Peter doing? That's why I'm watching the Spider-Man movie. I want to see what Peter's up to.
Yeah.
But apparently he's talking to Skrulls, pretending to be Nick Fury. But I think that's just inevitable at this point with all these Marvel movies. They have to connect.
Because that's what we
Which-
expect, right? As an audience. Well, we shouldn't, but that's what the general audience expects.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, there's so many people he could be talking to. He needs to talk to some of them. It's like, he doesn't need to talk to anybody. He could just be Peter. It could just be Peter. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like everything needs to connect now. So that's great.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, yeah.
I think the reason why I like Nick Fury in this movie, the fact that he's here, is because this character, this version of Peter, is so connected to Tony Stark, and the last time we see a Marvel movie was Endgame, after Tony Stark's death. So I feel like if they didn't have something in this movie, it would feel weird. So I like the fact that he's like, I'm not an Avenger. I'm not teaming up with you guys. Like, kind of leave me alone. But at the same time, I totally get where you're coming from, Bex. Like, you want to see a Spider-Man movie, not like Spider-Man in the Avengers. So,
But that's kind of not what's ever going to happen again with any of these Marvel movies. They are all in a bigger universe. And unfortunately, when they're not, we get Morbius. So you know what? I will take all the crossovers I can handle at this point.
Well, speaking of crossovers, we have a nice light crossover coming next.
What?
Venom, Let There Be Headaches from 2021. Who wants to
I'm not
talk
even-
about it?
It was crap.
Hot take.
There you go.
Okay.
So, okay, it was crap. Was it crappier than the first one?
I think so. Don't you guys?
I'm not sure it was, but it also angered me in equal amounts, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I don't know a lot about Spider-Man comic lore, but I do know Maximum Carnage. And they said this was their interpretation of Maximum Carnage.
Oh.
That's what angers me.
Yeah, I'm never going to pretend that Sony knows what they're doing when it comes to live action Spider-Man movies.
Or just in general.
Yeah, the reason why Into the Spider-Verse I think is so successful is because Sony doesn't give a shit about their animation division. They're like, oh, you want to make a little Spider-Man movie? Yeah, sure, go ahead. We don't care. So like, that is like, everything that happens in that movie is completely done by their animation studio, and the corporation had nothing to do with that movie. This is a mess of a movie. You could tell that it's edited to all shit, right? Like, it's, I think, under an hour and a half, which I think does it favors. I think that's great. It was a nice light watch. It was over like before I knew it, especially after like being so used to watching like 2.5 hour, 3 hour superhero movies. An hour and a half little flick was great to see. Yeah, I love how stupid and campy this movie is. It's like Woody Harrelson is so bad in a good way in this movie. Like he's so goofy. They amped up the relationship between Tom and Venom. Is it a good movie? No, it's not. But I kind of enjoyed watching it because it was so bad. It was fun. And I think that I would put it in C. I would say that it's better than the first one and better than Amazing Spider-Man 2. A little bit lower than Spider-Man 3, probably, for me.
I think this film also gets a little bit of a trivial plus for the fact that it's given us so far our only female Spider-Man film villain.
Oh, interesting.
What was her
yeah,
name
I guess
again?
so.
Shriek.
Oh, Shriek, yeah.
Yeah.
Which they did not do her justice, but
Right, I
that's
forgot
not
she was in it,
surprising.
yeah.
Oh man, I think it, Yeah, I think it's either where I agree with Josh where it is, and I agree with basically all your talking points. The dialogue between Eddie and Venom is better in this film. That's played for a bigger arc in terms of the resolution of what's going on. Woody Harrelson's great. I hate that if this is their interpretation of Maximum Carnage, like that could have been Sony's Avengers Endgame level crossover event. You could have had Spider-Man in Maximum Carnage. You could have had Cloak and Dagger. You could have had Firestar. Like all of these people that show up in Maximum Carnage, and this is your interpretation. No doppelganger, no Demogoblin, no Carry-On. Like, are you kidding me? I don't know. It's insulting. It's like Dark Phoenix level insulting. X-Men The Last Stand. Like if this is their interpretation, screw you.
I can move it back to D tier.
I sound pretty angry about that. I think it is better than the first film though.
Better here though, or better? Oh,
well, that's for the remaining votes to decide.
Oh, it's just me,
Can
Mike.
Yeah, so I think it's equally as bad as the first one. It's a D. Again, I felt like I was watching Blade 3 Trinity. Like it was just like I was transported to 2003. It was just embarrassing for all involved. Again, Michelle Williams, Tom Hardy slumming it. Woody Harrelson, oh my God, he was terrible in this film. He looked like an idiot. I dropped Amazing Spider-Man right around the time Carnage was introduced, so I have no affection for this character. I didn't even know who Shriek was, so I saw this movie, and I've been reading Spider-Man for 40 years, but I don't know. I hate all these characters. I don't know. I hate everything about it. I didn't enjoy I enjoy watching Batman and Robin and Batman Forever, but I did not enjoy watching this film, not one bit.
Bex, I think we need your score in here too.
I'm not gonna help at all. I didn't like this movie as much as the first Venom.
So okay.
Here's my problem with this movie. So Venom and Eddie are in love, right? Obviously, duh. We all know that. I know that. You know that. Like, just canon. If you're gonna go that route, and if Venom's gonna come out and rave and be covered in rainbows and a bunch of queer kids all hanging out, do it. Don't pansy. Oh, maybe I love you. No. They need to kiss or not at all. This is such a kick in the face to everybody, to all of the monster fuckers on Tumblr who were like, yeah, Venom, first one, they love each other. This one, they were like, oh, look at them being a cute couple. No! Like, you have to go 100% or not at all. I'm just insulted at this point. As far as queer representation goes, 0 out of 0. I was disappointed because I liked the first one so much. There is stuff in this that I found entertaining, but I feel like that's different than a good movie.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm entertained by a lot of things, and a lot of them are not good movies. So you can put this in C, and I think it would be fine in there. I didn't despise it, but there are parts of it that do tick me off, like Carnage. Carnage and Venom are a big part of my childhood. The 90s Spider-Man cartoon, Carnage isn't scary in this movie.
No, he's not.
This movie having not a lot of blood is a detriment. If this movie was a horror gore fest, this would have been a great movie.
We should have gotten Sam Raimi to direct this one.
Sam Raimi's Venom Carnage movie would be fantastic. You can have a romantic comedy and have a gore fest. I don't know why people think that you can't have both. Japan does it all the time.
So does everyone agree with where I've sort of let it fall?
I'm not going to argue.
Yeah.
I think it's better than that.
I think it's a hiccup better, but I would not fight it either if you felt strongly one way or the other. I think it's down to you, Jolie. I think Josh had it in C. Mike had it in a hard D. I had it in a high D.
Okay.
And Bex, I think,
had it in
a
C.
C. Oh, okay. So maybe
it's like a tiebreaker.
Yeah, I think it's up to you.
Okay, I think that I will keep it where it is then, because it's like better than the first one. I think I just remember when we reviewed it, having my entire opinion changed about the relationship between Eddie and Venom. And I really liked all of those perspectives. And I don't feel like I got that in the first Venom film as much as I did in the second. So I will give it points. I will give it more points, and I will let it sit there because I don't think that it deserves. Well, fuck. Spider-Man 3 is okay. It doesn't deserve to sit beside the dance.
It's not as good as the dance.
It's not as good as the dance.
Fair.
But Venom respects women.
But yes, that's the thing. It's just, you know, like one in one hand and the other, the scales are tipping. Like, again, it straddles a line between C and D.
All right, and our final film.
Oh boy, I'm just gonna drop that one right there, and then we talk about it.
I don't think it was that
Okay,
good.
great. Then we don't have to talk about it. We all agree.
No, I don't think it was that good.
I think, yeah, I don't think it's Into the Spider-Verse good.
No. Okay.
I think it's an A. I think it's the best live action Spider-Man we've got. But it wasn't. Yeah, I don't think it's S tier. I think it's A.
All right. I know Mike wants to say something. You could just talk. Just do it.
Okay, I'm just going to give a little side note that's going to kind of reinforce my point. If you were to adjust for inflation, which I like to do, the top 4 grossing Spider-Man films of all time are from the bottom up: Spider-Man 3, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 1, all with Tobey Maguire, and Spider-Man No Way Home is number 1. So the Tobey Maguire films are still more popular than Tom Holland and Andrew Garfield. And this film is only good because Tobey Maguire and maybe Andrew Garfield came back. And I do like the interplay between those actors once they're on screen together, but everything leading up to that was just as awkward as any of the other post-Raimi movies. Like,
interesting.
I'm glad they brought back Willem Dafoe. I'm glad they brought back, what's his name? Dr.
Alfred Molina.
Alfred Molina. But it was awkward when Willem Dafoe was like sitting in the diner, and when Spider-Man was on that bridge and Dr. Octopus came back, everything just felt forced and awkward. And when all the villains were in those jails, I was like, oh,
do you mean a wizard's dungeon?
Whatever it was. I was like, oh, he's only on contract for 2 days. He's only on contract for 2 days. He's only on contract for 2 days. We're going to film them separately, put them together. We're going to recreate a meme. It was just all very forced. The fight with the villains in the forest was it felt very cheap and forced and low budget. And just, I don't know. Other than the interaction of the different Spider-Mans, I didn't think it was as great as everyone else. And if I were to ever rewatch it, I would only watch those scenes.
Oh, Mike's video's gone again.
Oh, is it?
No.
Mike, which letter tier would you throw it in?
I mean, I was gonna give it a C.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, I'll give it a C.
So you think Spider-Man 3 is better?
I'd rather rewatch.
You gave it a B.
Yeah, I'd rather rewatch Spider-Man 3. I'm not saying it's a better movie. Maybe it is a better movie, but I'd rather rewatch Spider-Man 3.
Okay, that's a strong opinion.
Okay, Bex.
I was gonna dislike this movie more, but Mike made me like it more again. I forget every time I dislike something and Mike talks about why he dislikes it. I go, oh wait, never mind, liked it, because I only exist to be Mike-L's foil in life.
Contrarian.
Have to. Somebody has to be. We are opposite ends of the coin, but only about things that don't actually really matter, like our opinions on superhero movies. Politically, very similar. But this, I'll give it an A because I did cry like 6 times. I can't. If I had not seen all the previous Spider-Man movies, would I have liked this movie? Probably not. But that's not the reality of my existence. My existence is I've liked Spider-Man since I could say Spider-Man. So I love when there's more Spider-Mans. All the villains, the interplay between them. I don't care that they were only on set for 2 days. I loved it. Jamie Foxx being like, yeah, he's a weird lizard and he wanted to turn everybody into lizards. Comedy. Sandman, love him. Like when Jamie Foxx and Sandman are like talking, like, oh, I fell into some sand, fell in some electric eels. Gotta watch where you fall. Love it.
That was
The
good.
jokes, there's good jokes. All the
Mhm.
but because there's everything else we just talked about first. That's why this movie is so good. Everything with Doctor Strange, bad. Not
Yep.
interesting.
Yep. Stupid.
I agree. That's the weakest part of the film.
It's just to get everybody else in the movie, right?
He is a plot device.
Yes, which Benedict Cumberbatch should stay a plot device and get out of my movies.
Mhm. It's weird
So-
because they try to play him like a Tony Stark type.
And
You
he's
think so?
way
Yeah,
Yeah,
I,
with the
I,
whole-
I gathered that too.
I
Yeah.
think that they've groomed him to replace Tony Stark in the Marvel Universe, but it's not working. And I love Benedict Cumberbatch, but it's not working.
He's their John Cena of the MCU. Like he's their poster child for WWE right now.
Mhm.
That's what they're
Hmm.
trying to make happen. But he's more like a Roman Reigns. You know what I mean? Just
Mhm.
not as good.
Interesting.
I didn't realize there was so much wrestling talk on this podcast. I should have come sooner. I only
Things
know
get
like pre
weird on here.
2005 wrestling
Okay,
Okay.
jargon, like
we're gonna have to have
lore, but
my friend Jeff Kavanaugh on because he is a professional wrestling announcer. Okay, so we'll talk later.
Mm.
Oh my god,
Yeah,
he should introduce us on one of our episodes.
There you go. Oh, we also know someone who's a champion in professional wrestling, but it's only a backyard wrestling federation, so I don't know if it counts. But anyway.
Wrestling's wrestling.
is there drama outside the ring? Then yes, it counts.
It counts.
Wait, can I make one more comment? I
No.
did some research into our old YouTube videos because I wanted to see what Becca said about
Oh,
old
no?
Spider-Man movies, and I didn't want to listen to it during the show, but I
That's
did read a
fair.
comment, and it says, "Mike's the only one who knows what he's talking about." So I had to
For
read
whi-
that.
For which
Anyway.
one?
That was
Probably
for
Spider-Man 2.
Homecoming. Homecoming.
Oh, was it?
Okay.
Yep.
Homecoming.
Well, here's the thing about grumpy old men on the internet. They will disagree with me regardless of what I have to say.
Whatever.
No, I'm not
Hey.
saying. I'm saying I'm a young woman on the internet, and my opinion doesn't matter. So it doesn't. So the YouTube comments agreeing with you, they might be right, but
Or it could be a broken clock is right twice a day type thing.
Mm.
exactly.
Right.
Anyway, this
Uh,
movie's pretty cool.
yeah, I think. Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say, so I feel like we've got a really big spread so far in scores, but that's what makes this interesting. I did not expect us to have this varied scores for all these films. Like we've had, I love that. So I think we've got a strong A from Josh, a moderate to weak.
Is
Can you
Brent
guys hear me
choppy
at
for
all?
everybody
So-
else? Oh, you cut out
Yeah.
for a second. I think you're back.
Okay, choppy. Mike said C. I would have given it a strong A as well. So I think that comes down to Jolie to help us calculate.
I already gave it an S tier behind Into the Spider-Verse. So
Oh.
Mm.
Okay.
I think
So maybe
that-
maybe it sits where it is then.
okay, now let's look where it's sitting in the A tier. Is it better than Spider-Man 2?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't think so. No way.
I don't.
Doesn't matter what
think
Mike
so either.
says. What?
But
Oh,
what
I don't
about
think-
what about Josh? Hold on.
It's so tough. I think as a movie, it is not as good, but it is something that it's. It's so weird because they have different feelings, right? Like Spider-Man 2 is like very much a film by itself, where Far From Home is like an event, right? And they kind of hold like two different places in my mind. So I feel like they're almost on the same level for me because if I had to choose, I would say Spider-Man 2 is better.
okay.
Okay.
If I had to make a decision, yeah, I would do that. But I think going off of the I think that's also why Becca might have that. I think Becca was saying this movie is so good because of everything that came before it. And I think that is just kind of what Spider-Man is now. I don't think Into the Spider-Verse would be what it is if there weren't Spider-Man movies before Into the Spider-Verse. I think if Spider-Man wasn't a household name and his like story is something that everybody knows, like what happened to him being bitten by a radioactive spider, his Uncle Ben getting shot, and then like that great power comes great responsibility. Like I don't think Into the Spider-Verse would be possible without that.
Agreed.
In the same way that I don't think that No Way Home would be what it is if there weren't failed Spider-Man movies before it, or even Spider-Man movies period before it. It's kind of like a buildup, and I think that's kind of just where we're at. Just like how again Homecoming was able to just be a Spider-Man movie without giving the backstory about who he is. It was just a Spider-Man movie.
Going off of that too, it kind of touched on the fact that this movie wouldn't be what it is. I will say though that this film also, I don't know if anybody found this or felt this, but I felt like it retroactively made the Andrew Garfield films better. And I think it also retroactively made Green Goblin nastier in like a
Yes.
very juicy way. Do you know what I mean?
Improved him, yeah.
Oh, for sure.
So
yeah.
in a ways, it kind of enhances this whole. That's impressive that a film can do that.
Yeah, it fixed a lot of problems that I had with the Andrew Garfield movies, and I think elevated the Tobey movies and made me appreciate them more as well.
And it didn't feel forced. Like that wasn't their goal, is to fix the past
strange enough.
movies.
Yeah.
And I will say because it did come up earlier. Would this movie be what it is if the other movies didn't exist? I think the answer is yes. And I am basing this off the opinion of one 6-year-old niece, Abby Hosford, who watched this movie, who made us rent this movie for her because all of the boys at school were talking about it. So we watched it, and she had no idea. Over breakfast, I said, "Remember all the other Spider-Men, Abby? You remember the one who's older, and then the middle one with the nice hair? Do you know that they all have their own Spider-Man movies?" She lost it. She's like, "When can we watch them? What's going on? Are you serious? There's more than Tom Holland?" She was like rabid. She's seen Spider-Verse. Spider-Verse is her favorite, but like she had no idea that Tobey Maguire had 3 films. She had no idea that Andrew Garfield had 2. Like she was just amazed. So I think it does work without the other films. I mean, it had to. It worked in the mind of a 6-year-old. So I still think I think where it is on the S tier, I do, or the A tier, I do agree. As a film, they, like Josh said, they have the same sort of standing in his mind. I will say that I will confess I think Spider-Man 2 might be better as a standalone. Okay, it's fine.
I'm just gonna say one more thing following up on what Josh said. It's funny because superhero movies are accused of exploding nostalgia. That's like the accusation is that the only reason anyone watches them is out of nostalgia. But I think this is the first time we've had nostalgia for previous superhero movies, where it used to be you'd watch the Batman movie because you grew up on the Batman comics or cartoon. Now you're seeing a Spider-Man movie that's nostalgic about its own franchise, right? And I think the only other thing I can think of that's done that would be like Doctor Who, where every time there's a new Doctor, a couple years go by and they bring back the old Doctor, and they'll have a special with 2 Doctors or 3 Doctors. That's really the only other franchise that could do this before until now. But now that we've done it with Spider-Man, as we know, we're gonna have Flashpoint with Michael Keaton as Batman, as well as more. We're gonna have Doctor Strange with probably Patrick Stewart as Professor X, right? And we're gonna see what's the word I'm looking for? Not plethora, but we're gonna see a lot of this happening in the next couple of years. It's gonna be the next trend, I think.
Explosion?
You should have been on our Scream podcast, because Scream called this and said we're gonna get into requels. I mean, this is a trend of a requel, but now it's almost a requel that transcends franchises. So it's Now we know what Scream 6 is about, don't we, Jolie?
Oh, it's going to bring. Oh my God, Stu Macher is alive.
Oh God. But that's
Stu's alive. Sorry, I love that movie.
he's not alive.
Billy Loomis is my favorite.
He's a nut job.
Yeah, but he's got pretty hair, so I don't care.
Well, this is our list, I think. I
Yeah.
think we
Yeah.
made it.
Yeah.
She beautiful.
It's pretty darn similar to the one that I made.
Oh wow. Okay. Okay. Do you agree? Do you disagree? You definitely disagree with us. Let us know. Email us at fullvolumepod@gmail.com or send us a message on all kinds of social media. You can just find us at the Comic Book Syndicate, #fullvolumepod, wherever you social media. You can also listen to the first part of this tier list and and all future podcasts from the Full Volume Podcast, as well as Here Comes the Spider-Cast on www.comicbooksyndicate.com. Watch the videos on our YouTube channel or listen to all of our podcasts wherever you get your favorite podcasts. I want to thank, I'm sure the sentiment is the same for Brent, but we want to thank our glorious guests.
They're recurring guest stars now.
Yes.
Yeah. They've been on more than one episode.
I will wake up on Saturday mornings if I don't work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, we need to. We do need some strong opinions about Moon Knight soon. So, yeah. Are you watching it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's only been one episode. Well, two, but.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's Wednesday, isn't it?
Oh
You were like strong opinions. I have those, and then you're like about Moon Knight. I was like, I don't have any strong opinions about Moon Knight.
Yes,
Damn
thank you, Michael. Thank you, Bex Luthor, and thank you, Joshua Murr-VELL, for gracing us with your opinions.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having me. And the other two.
I just want to add, as the only person who saw Morbius would be F tier.
Nice.
I was hoping.
There's nothing redeeming about Morbius. The movie starts out with him coming out of a helicopter, and the guy goes, "Do you need a doctor?" And he turns and he looks at the camera and he goes, "I am a doctor."
Oh my God.
Can't wait.
Can't wait.
Can't wait.
Yep.
So I want to say thank you to my wonderful co-host, Harvey Brent.
That's me.
All right. Oh wait, is that what I usually say? No, I don't. Whatever. This is different. Until next time.
Keep it loud.
Keep it at full volume.
Bye.
Bye.
You guys have a sign off? That's cool.
So do we.
We should have a sign off,
We
Mike.
do. Remember, we had it for 100 episodes and you didn't do it. Remember?
No, I don't remember that at all.
No. You don't have to sign off. No.
Yeah, no. We just have Mike saying "see you later." That's all I remember.